Hello and thank you for joining us on the maiden edition of the Hallowed Chambers. It is a program designed to broaden your knowledge on legislative issues and keep you abreast of the stand taken by your elected representatives on pressing national issues that may affect you.
We will be bringing you up-to-date happenings on the floor of both chambers, bills passed, resolutions reached, and the drama. We'll also take you into committee meetings, public hearing, and much more.
I'm Somna Sambu.
And I am Choke Adisa.
In our newsreel this week,
House of Representatives sends a 6-man delegation to the South African Parliament following resurgence of xenophobic attacks on Nigerians as Senate pulls out of trip. National Assembly moves to promote gender equality and women empowerment as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the 2017 International Women's Day.
the resurgence of xenophobic attacks on Nigerians in South Africa continued to lead the discourse in both chambers of the National Assembly this week.
A delegation from the National Assembly will depart to South Africa this week to discuss ways of ending this issue.
The 6-man delegation to South Africa says its mission is to explore congressional diplomacy towards finding a lasting solution to recurring xenophobic attacks against Nigerians. House leader Femi Gbajabiamila, who is leading the team, addressed newsmen on the need for the visit along with some members of the delegation.
To underscore the need for this trip and hopefully explain to Nigerians who are asking genuine questions on the necessity for it. We will attempt to meet with the South African Parliament to discuss the possibility of both our countries enacting hate crime laws. This would cover crimes committed based on nationality.
Legislative diplomacy is something that has become the norm rather than the aberration. And of course, when WikiLeaks opened up, we realized just how much engagement there was between Parliament and governments.
Meanwhile, the Senate has cancelled its plan to send a delegation to South Africa, citing the need to avoid multiple delegations to the Southern African nation, as the House of Representatives has insisted on going independently. The House of Representatives will now represent the entire National Assembly.
We thought we could send a single delegation of National Assembly to avoid the unnecessary embarrassment of multiple delegations. In this circumstance, the Senate decided to pull out of the trip and allow the House of Reps delegation to proceed.
And as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to celebrate this year's International Women's Day, the Nigerian Senate has asked political office holders and government appointees to grant more access to women in governance through initiatives that will help to empower them. The resolution follows a motion by Senator Binta Masi at Wednesday's plenary. The Senate also mandated its Committee on Women Affairs to ensure the domestication of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act in all states of the Federation.
Further concerned that women often bear the burden of unpaid care and domestic work. And when these unpaid hours are added to salary work, women actually work very long hours in both developing and developed countries.
Let me especially commend the Senate for some of the bills that you have passed that concern women. The bill on the elimination of discrimination against women, which was passed, and enjoin you and indeed Nigerian men to ensure that this bill is passed and signed into law.
I want to use this opportunity today, the International Women's Day, to call on this Senate to lead the way. Let us amend the Constitution and give an opportunity to our women to contribute.
The women have taken over the legal profession. They've also taken over the teaching profession. They're also in aviation. They're also in politics, and they're all doing very well.
On its part, the House of Representatives has assured it will continue to promote gender equality and women empowerment. At a special session to commemorate the day, the legislators resolved to redouble efforts at overcoming entrenched prejudice against the female folk. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion by Stella Ungu, the member representing the Igbo Etiti, Uzo-Wani Federal Constituency of Enugu State.
It is a call on the masses or a call on yourself and myself to help forge a better working world, a more gender-inclusive world. It is a call for courage. It's a clear call to speak out on gender issues in order to make a change.
Women are the source of life. For every man here today, like you rightly said, that is born of a woman will appreciate and understand what it is to be a woman.
In this society where we have almost 50-50 in population of men and women, for us to now have just a few number of us here representing our people, when on election day, you will see that 75% of the people who line up to vote are women.
The Senate now consists of two political parties, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP. This follows the defection of Senator representing Delta Central, Ovie Omo Agege from the Labour Party to the APC. Senator Omo Agege made the announcement on the floor of the Senate at Tuesday's plenary, where he cited intra-party crisis in the Labour Party as responsible for his decision. Until his announcement, Omo Agege was the only senator elected on the platform of the Labour Party in the Senate.
May I humbly notify Your Excellency, the Senate President and my colleagues, of my decision to switch my party membership from the Labour Party to the All Progressive Congress, APC.
The Senate caucus of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has agreed to consult with their state governors before taking a decision on an invitation by the Alimodu Sheriff leadership of the party to join in reuniting aggrieved members of the party. Senate Minority Leader Godswill Akpabio, at a briefing with Senate correspondents, says the PDP Senate caucus is set to work out a lasting solution to the leadership crisis rocking the party so as to halt future defections.
The struggle for chairmanship at the party secretariat does not in any way, diminish the strength of the party in all the wards of the nation and the 774 local governments that we have in Nigeria. So PDPC remains a very veritable and strong and viable alternative. So I can just say defection of 2 or 3 senators who have interests outside the chambers will affect the unity and the strength of the caucus. Once the House is in order, you will see not just a turnaround, you will see a miraculous turnaround.
The Senate this week also moved against the Nigeria Customs Service by blocking the Revenue Agency from proceeding with its proposed plan to collect duties on vehicles already imported into the country through land or sea borders via a verification process that may lead to the impounding of vehicles on the streets. The Red Chamber summoned Controller General of Customs Hamid Ali to appear in customs uniform unfailingly on Wednesday, March the 15th, to answer questions on the new customs policy on retrieval of delayed duties on all automobiles. This follows a point of order moved by Senator Dino Melaye over newspaper reports that the customs boss has defied the Senate's earlier directive in the week to stop the proposed duty. Senators described Ali's policies in the customs as archaic and not in tune with modern realities. The lawmakers also said the non-constitution of his substantive board for the customs service and Ali's decision to bypass the Minister of Finance to report directly to Mr. President has led to dictatorial policies in the agency.
The headline today is Custom Dear Senate, with a rider, no going back on implementation of duties on old vehicles. The Senate, therefore, resolves as follows. 1, that we invite the Controller General of Customs to appear in plenary with his uniform.
Where is the law that states
he as the Controller General of the Customs will wear his civilian dress and say, that is a paramilitary formation. Customs now operate like a gangster. Customs now goes after vehicles, trailer load of rice, as like a gangster.
The CJN, when he appeared before us, one of the things they identified as our major problem is impunity. So while we fight corruption, we must also, in equal measures, fight impunity. We cannot allow impunity to take root in this country.
And in the Green Chamber this week, the Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives has mandated members to provide evidence of breach of laws by any government agency to enable the House to take appropriate actions. The House of Representatives is to carry out an audit of dumps as well as an inventory of movable and immovable forfeited assets seized by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. Its Committee on Financial Crimes has also been charged to investigate the legality of the forfeiture. The resolution is sequel to a motion sponsored by Babajimi Benson from Lagos State. In his lead debate, Benson said the seized items, including cars and other valuables, are being left to rot. Other legislators submit that there's the need to avoid waste of recovered properties.
The EFCC owns 3 dumps where they put cars that have been seized through forfeitures or interim orders. These dumps are located in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and in Lagos. These dumps have thousands of cars who are in various stages of depreciation. These cars are dying, they are decayed, they are subject to pilfering as well. They also have immovable assets. They have thousands of houses that are under various depreciation. The EFCC have seized many ships. One of the ships recently has sunk and it had thousands of barrels of oil in it.
It doesn't help anybody's cause to lose property or to leave assets to deteriorate and waste. So this is a motion that is calling attention to the occurrence of such an event.
I don't think it's out of place for us to inquire into whether the process leading into the forfeiture, for instance, were covered by law, first of all. So you are certain that what is the requirement that has to be made for an asset to be forfeited under the laws that we have passed? Was that complied with?
The House of Representatives is doing its best to ease the Nigerian business environment for investors and grow the economy. To this end, it has passed a bill that seeks to establish the Competition and Consumer Protection Tribunal to promote healthy business competition and strengthen consumer rights. The House adopted the recommendation of the report on the bill sponsored by Speaker Yakubu Dogara to repeal the Consumer Protection Act, establish the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission and Consumer Protection Tribunal. The bill, when concurred by the Senate and assented to by the President, will assist developing business, also promote fair, efficient, and competitive markets in the Nigerian economy.
We go on a short break, and when we return, we will be bringing you updates on the oversight activities of lawmakers this week.
We will also be bringing on the hot seat a 3-term lawmaker with a passion for diplomatic relations between Nigeria and other countries.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Hallowed Chambers on TVC News.
This week on Oversight, we are looking at the legislative activities of the Banking and Currency Committee. In the week ending, the committee, chaired by the representative Jones Onyerere from Imo State, took stakeholders' input into 4 bills at a 2-day public hearing. Economic and financial experts have given their nod to a proposed amendment seeking to establish a deposit fund for the management of dormant accounts. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, are in support of the planned amendment to the law, but object to specified areas in the proposed amendment.
This bill is necessary to provide regulation for dormant accounts and unclaimed funds in our banks. Its consideration and passage will ensure that accountability by banks in handling dormant accounts and unclaimed funds.
The House of Representatives Committee on Banking and Currency aims to ensure that quality resolutions reached at the end of this legislative process that will bring these amendments to actualization will be effectively applied for the positive influence desired.
A very important section of this bill is that of the exemption of certain accounts. This is an area where the stakeholders, the patrons of this bill, can actually exploit. So it's therefore necessary for it to be very succinct and very clear.
Non-performing loans currently affecting the banking sector. And we had made a recommendation that the BOFIA should be amended to actually prohibit insiders, because insider loans by directors and officers constitute a significant proportion of these insider loans. In 2009, we saw an incidence of that. AMCON came, but what we have now far exceeds what happened in 2009.
The House of Representatives says it will fix specific timeline for Assets Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, to wind down in line with the adopted Malaysian model. The words of assurance came from its House Committee on Banking and Currency, which gathered financial experts to look into proposed amendments to the AMCON Act. This gathering aims at expanding the AMCON board and as well provide legal backing to the agency to name and shame defaulting obligors. AMCON submits that 80% of exposures were owed by 130 obligors are financially equipped to institute legal action against the corporation, hence frustrating the recovery of the toxic assets bought by the NDIC from the financial institutions. It urged the National Assembly to strengthen and shield the corporation from financial penalty and noted that 22 trillion naira is in circulation in the Nigerian market. In expanding its board, AMCON urged the House to prioritize professionalism rather than the consideration of representation across the 6 geopolitical zones. On its part, the Central Bank of Nigeria noted that all the instruments, including loans, equity and bonds, acquired by AMCON have terminal dates. Hence, there was no need to stipulate the terminal date.
The biggest debtors are also the ones that have the resources to prosecute legal cases and tie up AMCON in court. The dilemma we face when we are compiling those lists is the risk of being sanctioned for contempt.
The proposal of Central Bank is that rather than having extra 6 for the purposes of ensuring geopolitical representation, so we could still work with a smaller board of 13, that can still manage this. The bank is therefore proposing the inclusion of 3 additional directors.
This will also accord us an opportunity to also look at other proposed amendments from AMCON, especially with regards to this lingering issue of obligors not being able to meet up with their outstanding facilities.
Our lawmaker of the week is the member representing Bende Federal Constituency of Abia State, Nena Elendu Ukeje.
She heads the House Committee on Foreign Affairs and will be speaking with us on the renewed xenophobic attacks in South Africa and efforts made by the National Assembly to ensure the safety of Nigerians. Thank you for your time, Ma.
There's a lot of misunderstanding as to the role of the legislature in trying to engage with this problem. Now, I'll drive from the place where there's been a lot of criticism of the handling of this matter by Nigerians. Of course, a lot of people have said that Parliament has not done enough to stem the tide of xenophobia and the concerns about what it is that we should, as a Parliament, be doing in relation to securing the lives of Nigerians who are outside of this country. Of course, we also recognize that the Nigerian government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has done everything that it can possibly do within the Geneva Convention. They've invited the ambassador, they've engaged with the ambassador. Ambassadors over in South Africa have engaged with the Nigerian people. They've carried the message of the Nigerian government, of all arms of Nigerian government, to their South African counterparts, and have, of course, decried xenophobia and the way in which the Nigerian population perceives this recent attacks. But we also see that as government, there's also something known as legislative diplomacy, and it's something that is accepted everywhere around the world. And the legislature, in every democratic setting, is an integral part of government. Now, what we seek to do as a parliament is to carry the aggregate opinion of a critical mass of Nigerian people as representatives of the people, to engage with the parliament in South Africa, who incidentally also are the standard bearers of their country's opinions, and engage with them. And part of the reason why this committee is going is that we also need to understand and look at it through the eyes of South Africans. Let us even understand what causes these flare-ups. Let us understand if it is something that is endemic, and understand if it is something that is likely to happen again, so that we can come back home and look at our domestic policies with regards to migration, with regards to the treatment of Nigerians abroad. What can we as a country do? Because let's not forget that in spite of what Nigeria expects us to do as a parliament, the Parliament of Nigeria will make laws for the good governance of Nigeria. Every country is a sovereign state. We can engage with them and we can tell them our position, but it is up to their parliament to actually make the laws for the good governance of South Africa. But from the eyes of Nigerians, evidently not, because it's a recurring decimal for the eyes of the rest of the world. And Nigerians are not isolated. Nigerians are not isolated in these attacks, and I think that point needs to be made. They must have a response mechanism to these things, that once it starts to brew, that they step in immediately before it gets in. I think the South African police has to be on top of its game. I also think that the justice system, I know everywhere in the world the wheels of justice churn very slowly, but I also think that as a disincentive, that certain people have to be prosecuted to show that you won't get away with doing this. I think that the South African government also has to highlight to the South African people that in a world that is reeling from a global recession, that if they start to attack South African businesses around the world, then the remittances back to South Africa will affect them. And the South African government has to educate its people, let them recognize that, in foreign policy as well as with most things, the rest of the world can't be mature and that one country has an immature approach to it. Like I said, this is also an opportunity. I think that, like I said, it's a knee-jerk nationalistic reaction. I think that Nigerians have force. We may be very mature in utilizing the force. Everybody has a population that is able to take the law into its hands. But as you said, and again, this speaks to the maturity of the Nigerian government, that even when Nigerians went to picket MTN, it was the same Nigerian police that protected MTN as a show of responsiveness and responsibility, and that's what we seek from the South African government. Now, these are institutions of government. Now, the Niger Delta militants, on the other hand, are saying that we can also be like
like this. And I think it's a message out there. They haven't gone out to do it, but they're saying it as a deterrent. Now, I do not believe in violence. I don't think it's the way to go, but having said that, I also think that the South African government, I think this should be a wake-up call for the South African government to activate the institutions. While we know that it's not institutions of government that are targeting Nigerians, it is the same institutions of government that should regulate the actions of its citizens. Engage with them, and our words to them are, let us exaggerate our goods. There's so many Nigerians doing fantastic work in South Africa. The medical sector in South Africa is populated hugely by Nigerians. The person who designed the airports, everywhere you see Nigerians, serious Nigerians who are doing beautiful work. Let us celebrate the Nigerians who are doing good work. Let us speak to our fellow patriots and say to them to turn away from crime. I mean, there's good and there's bad, but let us try very hard to hold ourselves accountable, even as we live, and realize that we indeed ambassadors of this country, and then the government will do everything that the government will do to protect our citizens.
Let's now take a quick look at what Nigerians are saying about the xenophobic attacks and the National Assembly's planned trip to South Africa.
It is just another act of spending more money. In the real sense, the Senate shouldn't even visit South Africa in the first place, because what are they going there to do? Are they going there to stop xenophobic acts? Are they going there to... What exactly are they going to do?
It is very, very necessary for them to have made the visit even long before now. And now that they are making an effort to go, it is their duty to do it.
It will keep occurring every year, and it's not a good thing. So to me, it's a welcome development. I really like it.
Something like this happened some time ago in the time of Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan, when Jonathan was president. The minister, as at then, sent a strong language, a strong word to the South African government. And such things, that's what we need to do, not sending our parliamentarians, taking taxpayers' money to go to the... what do they need that for? I don't think that's necessary.
South Africa is a good development for National Assembly to visit South Africa. It's a good development.
I think it's a welcome development because a lot of Nigerians are out there hustling there. So if the unity is between Nigeria and the countries, it's very okay.
This is where we draw the curtain on this week's edition of the Hallowed Chambers. Join us same time next week for a fresh edition.
Don't forget to reach us using our social media handle at TVC Connect, and on Twitter using the hashtag #TheHallowedChambers.
Stay tuned to TVC News, and don't forget, building a great Nigeria starts with building a great you. I am Joke Adisa.
And I'm Somna Sambu. See you next week.